House Baratheon played a crucial role in the history of the Seven Kingdoms, and in ways you probably do not realize. Its story traces a rapid rise from modest beginnings to royal power, followed by near collapse and eventual resurgence. Now, let's begin. Aegon's conquest and the founding of House Baratheon. The year is 2 BC. Aegon Targaryen's conquest of Westeros has begun, and the Stormlands are ruled by Argilac the Arrogant, the last Storm King of House Durrandon. As part of his campaign to unite Westeros, Aegon sends an envoy to Argilac to propose a marriage alliance. Argilac's daughter, Argella, would wed Orys Baratheon, Aegon's trusted ally and rumored half-brother. Argilac was deeply insulted by the proposal. He chopped off the hands of Aegon's envoy, sent them to Dragonstone, and prepared for war. Meanwhile, Aegon placed Orys in command of the campaign against the Houses of the Stormlands. At the battle later known as the Last Storm, Orys Baratheon killed Argilac the Arrogant in single combat, ending the ancient Durrandon dynasty that had ruled the Stormlands for thousands of years. After the battle, Orys claimed Storm's End in Aegon's name, and took custody of Argilac's daughter, Argella Durrandon. Rather than harm her, Orys treated Argella with honor and married her. He united his new house with the bloodline of the Storm Kings, lending legitimacy to his rule. Orys reinforced this continuity by adopting the Durrandon sigil and words, the crowned black stag, and the iconic motto, "Ours is the Fury." He was named Lord of Storm's End and Lord Paramount of the Stormlands. Thus, House Baratheon was founded. Before we move on, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We'll be covering every house in detail. Early Baratheon lords in the Targaryen era, 1 AC to 100 AC. Orys's most significant trials as the founder of the Baratheon house came during the First Dornish War. While campaigning in the Red Mountains, Orys was defeated and captured by the Dornish Lord Will at the Boneway. Upon release, his sword hand was cut off. Orys eventually returned to Storm's End and continued to rule for many years. His opportunity for revenge came during the Vulture Hunt of 37 AC, a campaign launched to suppress a Dornish outlaw king. Orys single-handedly led Stormlander forces to victory, before capturing Lord Will and cutting off his hands and feet. Orys succumbed to his own wounds while returning home, but reportedly died content. Orys was succeeded by his eldest son, Davos Baratheon, who had fought alongside his father during the Vulture Hunt. Under King Aenys I, Davos and other loyal lords were rewarded for their service. The Baratheons served the Targaryens at court and on the battlefield. One notable figure was Sir Raymond Baratheon, a younger son of Orys who became a knight of the Kingsguard during King Aenys' reign. In 41 AC, he played a critical role during the Faith Militant Uprising by preventing an assassination attempt on the king. Around 7 years later, House Baratheon's influence expanded further. During the turbulent transition from Maegor the Cruel to King Jaehaerys I, Lord Rhaegar Baratheon emerged as one of the most powerful lords in Westeros. When Jaehaerys and his sister Alysanne Targaryen were endangered during Maegor's reign, Rhaegar reportedly gave them refuge. After Maegor's death, Rhaegar became a key supporter of the young king, as demonstrated when he led the forces that secured King's Landing on Jaehaerys' behalf in 48 AC. Rhaegar Baratheon's authority peaked when he was appointed Hand of the King during the early years of Jaehaerys' rule. Ambitious and proud, Rhaegar wielded enormous influence in shaping the realm's recovery. His marriage to Dowager Queen Alyssa Velaryon, the widow of King Aenys, further strengthened House Baratheon's position. Through this union, Rhaegar became stepfather to the king and tied the Baratheons directly to the Targaryen royal family. However, this union sowed the seeds of conflict, as Rhaegar had married Alyssa without Jaehaerys' approval. Rhaegar himself tried to arrange a political marriage for Jaehaerys, but Jaehaerys and his sister Alysanne secretly wed instead. Humiliated and angered, Rhaegar attempted to undermine their union while continuing to rule in the capital with Alyssa. His aggressive behavior and mounting political failures forced Rhaegar to resign as Hand in 50 AC, leaving King's Landing in disgrace. But when King Jaehaerys came of age in the same year, Rhaegar chose submission and returned to King's Landing. Jaehaerys pardoned him in return for his loyalty. Rhaegar then remained Lord of Storm's End until his death around 62 AC. By the late 1st century AC, House Baratheon was led by Rhaegar's son, Lord Bormund Baratheon. Bormund was a prominent political figure whose leadership positioned the Stormlands as a critical power. Upon his death, the lordship passed to his son, and yes, that son was none other than Boros, who appears in House of the Dragon. If you're enjoying seeing how lesser-known figures like Orys, Davos, Rhaegar, and Bormund shaped Westeros long before the events of the main series, subscribe for more deep dives like this. The Dance of the Dragons, House Baratheon in the Targaryen Civil War. By 129 AC, House Baratheon stood as one of the most powerful great houses in Westeros. Boros, an experienced warrior who preferred action over diplomacy, ruled over the Stormlands, and with civil war looming, his allegiance became a critical prize for both sides of the ongoing Targaryen succession conflict. The Greens dispatched Prince Aemon Targaryen, riding the massive dragon Vhagar, with an offer from Aegon. In exchange for Baratheon support, Aemon offered to wed one of Boros's 4 unmarried daughters. The Black sent Rhaenyra's younger son, Prince Lucerys Velaryon, also known as Luke, riding the smaller dragon Arax. Luke's mission was to remind Boros of past oaths and family bonds. But Boros took Luke's message as an insult. He felt his house's support was being taken for granted. He rejected Rhaenyra's appeal and sided with Aegon. Despite his decision, Boros insisted that no blood was to be shed beneath his roof. However, this truce ended the moment Luke departed into the stormy skies above Shipbreaker Bay. Aemon mounted Vhagar and pursued Luke into the air. He initially tried only to scare Luke, but both dragons lost control, leading to an unintended confrontation that ended with the massive Vhagar killing Luke and Arax in spectacular fashion. Luke's death marked the true beginning of the Dance of the Dragons, and with this encounter, House Baratheon formally joined the Green side. In early 131 AC, armies from the Riverlands and the Vale marched south to challenge Aegon II. Boros led the remaining Green forces to meet them on the King's Road. Confident and dismissive of his opponents, he underestimated the enemy's leadership and resolve. At the Battle of the King's Road, Boros's army was outmaneuvered, and parts of his force broke ranks and deserted. Despite the carnage around him, Boros refused to retreat. He fought fiercely until the end, cutting down numerous foes before being slain in battle. With his death, House Baratheon lost its lord at a critical moment. 7 days later, Boros's wife gave birth to a son. She named the child Royce. Under the reign of the young king Aegon III, House Baratheon was allowed to retain Storm's End, bringing its role in the Dance of the Dragons era to a close. From Blackfyre to the Mad King, Baratheon loyalty and royal blood, 131 AC to 280 AC. In 131 AC, House Baratheon entered a period of recovery. During the rule of Royce Baratheon and his successors, House Baratheon gradually regained its position as one of the realm's main great houses. By 239 AC, Storm's End was ruled by Lord Lionel Baratheon, known as the Laughing Storm. Lionel was a renowned warrior with a larger-than-life personality, remembered both for his strength and his sense of humor. But a broken marriage pact brought Lionel into open rebellion. Lionel's daughter had been betrothed to Prince Duncan Targaryen, the eldest son of King Aegon V. When Prince Duncan abandoned the match to marry Jenny of Oldstones, a commoner, Lionel took the insult personally. He renounced his fealty and declared himself the Storm King. This rebellion was short-lived. Seeking to avoid a wider war, King Aegon turned to diplomacy and sent Sir Duncan the Tall to confront Lionel. The conflict ended in single combat, with Duncan prevailing and Lionel submitting. To restore relations, the king promised his youngest daughter, Princess Rhaelle Targaryen, in marriage to Lionel's heir. That promise was fulfilled in 245 AC when Princess Rhaelle married Ormond Baratheon. This union was of lasting importance. Rhaelle was a true-born Targaryen princess, and through her, House Baratheon gained royal blood in its main line. Soon after their marriage, Lionel died, and Ormond succeeded him as Lord of Storm's End. Ormond proved an able and respected lord, and in 259 AC, King Jaehaerys II appointed him Hand of the King. Shortly thereafter, the realm was plunged into the War of the Ninepenny Kings, sparked by the final Blackfyre pretender, Meleys Blackfyre. Ormond commanded the royal force that was sent to the Stepstones and was killed in battle, reportedly slain by Meleys Blackfyre himself. He died in the arms of his young son Steffon. His body was returned home to Storm's End, where he was remembered as a faithful servant of the crown. Steffon inherited Storm's End in his mid-teens. His royal ancestry made him a prominent figure, and he was kept close by King Aerys II during the early years of that reign. In 278 AC, Aerys entrusted Steffon with a delicate mission to find a bride of Valyrian descent for Prince Rhaegar. Steffon traveled across the narrow sea with his wife, Cassana Estermont, but returned empty-handed. On their return voyage, tragedy struck. Their ship was wrecked in the aptly named Shipbreaker Bay within sight of Storm's End, killing both Steffon and Cassana. Their deaths made orphans of their 3 sons, Robert, Stannis, and the infant Renly. Robert became Lord of Storm's End at 16, with Jon Arryn serving as his guardian. The Baratheon Revolt Against the Dragon, 282 to 283 AC. Now we come to the timeline of the main series. In 282 AC, Crown Prince Rhaegar Targaryen disappeared with Lyanna Stark, the daughter of Lord Rickard Stark, and the betrothed of Robert Baratheon, the Lord of Storm's End. Whether Lyanna was abducted or went willingly remained unclear, but the political consequences were immediate and catastrophic. Robert, young and fiercely devoted to Lyanna, saw the act as an unforgivable insult. House Stark reacted even more directly. Rickard Stark and his heir, Brandon, rode to King's Landing demanding justice. Mad King Aerys II responded by executing Rickard and Brandon Stark, before ordering Lord Jon Arryn to surrender the heads of Robert Baratheon and Eddard Stark. Jon Arryn refused, raising his banners instead. What followed became known as Robert's Rebellion. The decisive battle came in 283 AC at the Trident. Rhaegar Targaryen led the royal army to meet the rebels, and in the chaos of battle, Robert and Rhaegar confronted each other in single combat. Robert slew the prince with a crushing blow from his warhammer, killing the last great hope of the Targaryen dynasty. With Rhaegar dead, the royal army collapsed. In the aftermath, King Aerys was killed by Jaime Lannister of the Kingsguard, while Lyanna Stark died soon after at the Tower of Joy in Dorne, found by Ned Stark in her final moments. Robert never learned the full truth of the circumstances around her death. In 284 AC, Robert Baratheon was crowned King of the Seven Kingdoms. To secure political stability, he married Cersei Lannister. Jon Arryn became Hand of the King, while Ned Stark returned north to Winterfell. Have you enjoyed our video so far? Don't forget to reward us with a like. The Baratheon Dynasty. King Robert's reign, 284 to 298 AC. After claiming the Iron Throne, Robert's reign lasted roughly 15 years in the books and slightly longer in the show's timeline. At court, Robert's marriage to Queen Cersei Lannister produced 3 children, Joffrey, Myrcella, and Tommen. They were publicly recognized as Baratheon heirs, but in reality, these children were fathered by Cersei's twin brother, Jaime Lannister. Robert himself fathered numerous bastards with women across Westeros. Though these illegitimate children held no claim to succession during Robert's lifetime, their existence would later prove politically important. Known bastards included Maya Stone in the Vale, Edric Storm at Storm's End, and Gendry, a blacksmith's apprentice in King's Landing. Robert entrusted key regions to his younger brothers. Stannis ruled Dragonstone and served as master of ships, overseeing the royal fleet. Despite his effectiveness and loyalty, Stannis grew increasingly resentful of Robert, particularly over being denied the ancestral seat of Storm's End, which instead went to their youngest brother, Renly. Renly Baratheon ruled Storm's End and later joined the small council as Master of Laws. He earned a reputation that echoed Robert's earlier popularity. By contrast, Stannis developed a stern and isolated character on Dragonstone. Though all 3 Baratheon brothers held positions of power, underlying tensions quietly divided the family. For much of Robert's reign, the realm experienced peace, with the Greyjoy Rebellion in 289 AC standing as the only major conflict. Over time, however, Robert's neglect of governance led to mounting debt, largely owed to House Lannister. His marriage to Cersei deteriorated, and court politics were increasingly dominated by Lannister influence. Jon Arryn's sudden death in 298 AC marked a turning point. Unknown to the public, he had been investigating the true parentage of the royal children. His death signaled the beginning of the crisis that would soon engulf House Baratheon and plunge Westeros into war. The War of the Five Kings, Baratheon brothers in conflict, 298 to 300 AC. In 298 AC, Robert traveled north to Winterfell to name his longtime friend Eddard Stark, or Ned, as the new Hand of the King. During this visit, Robert proposed marrying his presumed heir, Prince Joffrey, to Sansa Stark, seeking to bind House Baratheon and House Stark together. Ned accepted both the betrothal and the position of hand. But then, Ned uncovered the truth. Robert's children were not actually his. This revelation meant that Robert's eldest surviving brother, Stannis, was the true heir to the Iron Throne. In another shocking turn, Robert was mortally wounded during a boar hunt. On his deathbed, Robert signed a succession decree naming Joffrey as king, but Ned altered the wording to "my rightful heir," protecting Stannis' claim to the throne. After Robert's death, Queen Cersei seized power in Joffrey's name. Ned Stark was executed, and King Joffrey Baratheon was crowned. With that act, House Baratheon fractured into rival claims, igniting the War of the Five Kings. On Dragonstone, Stannis Baratheon received Ned Stark's letter and immediately understood the truth of Joffrey's illegitimacy. As Robert's lawful heir, Stannis declared himself King Stannis Baratheon I. He denounced Joffrey publicly and called the realm to recognize the true Baratheon line. Meanwhile, the youngest Baratheon brother, Renly, moved just as decisively, but with a different justification. Backed by the immense power of House Tyrell, Renly crowned himself King Renly Baratheon. He claimed the throne not through law, but through strength and consensus, arguing that a king should rule because people wanted him to. This meant that 3 Baratheons now claimed the Iron Throne: Joffrey in King's Landing, Stannis on Dragonstone, and Renly in the south. In 299 AC, Renly was mysteriously assassinated in his tent. Witnesses described having seen a shadowy figure bearing Stannis' likeness. But the truth was, Stannis' advisor, Melisandre, had used forbidden magic to kill Renly. Many of Renly's followers transferred their allegiance to Stannis. Others, particularly the Tyrells, abandoned the Baratheon cause entirely, aligning with the Lannisters instead. With Renly gone, Stannis launched his decisive assault on King's Landing, nearly overwhelming the city at the Battle of the Blackwater. However, much of Stannis' fleet was destroyed when the defenders unleashed wildfire. Then, at the critical moment, Tywin Lannister and the Tyrell armies arrived, attacking Stannis' army from behind. The defeat at Blackwater Bay was devastating. Stannis escaped with a fraction of his army and retreated to Dragonstone. King Joffrey remained on the throne, and House Baratheon of King's Landing continued to rule. Who did you want to win the War of the Five Kings, and why? Let us know in the comments. In 300 AC, Joffrey married Margaery Tyrell in a grand ceremony meant to symbolize unity. Instead, it ended in disaster, with the young king poisoned at his own wedding feast. Following his death, his younger brother Tommen was crowned. Though Tommen bore the Baratheon name, power now lay entirely with House Lannister and their Tyrell allies. Meanwhile, Stannis, diminished but unbroken, sought redemption and relevance elsewhere. In 301 AC, Stannis answered a call far from the Iron Throne. Learning of a massive wildling threat beyond the Wall, he sailed north and decisively defeated Mance Rayder's army, saving the Night's Watch. This unexpected victory earned Stannis new respect and a sense of divine purpose. He declared himself protector of the realm and attempted to rally the northern lords against the Lannister-backed Boltons. Stannis marched south toward Winterfell, but his campaign collapsed under brutal winter conditions. Desperate and increasingly reliant on Melisandre's counsel, Stannis committed his greatest sin. He offered his only heir, Shireen, as a sacrifice to the Lord of Light, burning her at the stake. This act broke his spirit. His troops deserted, and the remnants were crushed by the Boltons as they marched on Winterfell. Stannis himself was executed by Brienne of Tarth, who fulfilled her oath to avenge Renly. With Stannis dead and Shireen gone, the legitimate Baratheon bloodline was extinguished. Robert's brothers were all dead, and none left surviving true-born sons. In 303 AC, King Tommen committed suicide after his wife Margaery was killed in the destruction of the Great Sept of Baelor. With his death, House Baratheon of King's Landing ended as well. Cersei Lannister claimed the throne in her own name, abandoning any pretense of Baratheon rule. Thus ends House Baratheon, a dynasty born in rebellion, crowned through war, and destroyed by ambition, rivalry, and fate. Revival and legacy. Gendry Baratheon and the future of House Baratheon. Although House Baratheon appeared to be extinct by the end of the War of Five Kings, its legacy continued through Gendry, one of Robert's illegitimate sons. Like many of his bastards, Gendry lived in obscurity. During Robert's reign, Queen Cersei quietly ordered the elimination of his illegitimate children in King's Landing to prevent future political threats. But Gendry, an apprentice armorer in Flea Bottom, was unaware of his true parentage and survived. After Robert's death, Gendry fled King's Landing with Yoren of the Night's Watch and spent years on the run. His journey took him across war-torn Westeros, where he narrowly avoided execution, briefly joined the Brotherhood without banners, and was later captured by Stannis Baratheon's forces. Melisandre sought to use Gendry's royal blood for her rituals, but Ser Davos Seaworth intervened, allowing Gendry to escape. By 305 AC, during the events of Game of Thrones Season 7, Ser Davos and Gendry once again crossed paths, this time in King's Landing. Recognizing his significance as Robert Baratheon's surviving son, Davos brought him to Dragonstone, where Gendry joined Jon Snow's campaign against the White Walkers. Following the defeat of the White Walkers, Daenerys Targaryen rewarded those who had fought for the living. She legitimized Gendry as a Baratheon and named him Lord of Storm's End. This decision restored House Baratheon as a ruling house in the Stormlands, despite the extinction of the legitimate male line descended from Lord Steffon Baratheon. Gendry thus became the founder of a renewed Baratheon lineage. As Lord of Storm's End, Gendry assumed a seat among the great lords of Westeros. In the final episode of Game of Thrones, he was part of the council that selected Bran Stark as king, representing the Stormlands and confirming House Baratheon's return to political relevance. Although Gendry remained unmarried at the series' conclusion, his position allowed for future alliances that would further secure the house's survival. Over time, House Baratheon evolved from loyal vassals of the Targaryens to the kings that replaced them, before nearly disappearing altogether. Yet Storm's End endures, and with it, the Baratheon legacy. If you enjoyed this deep dive into House Baratheon, be sure to check out our guides to the other great houses of Westeros. See you in the next video.